Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest heart, the blackest mind, the blackest man on social media, signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Check this out, y'all. So here's the deal. Light Skin Motivation put out the video this morning. Now, I'm not sure what happened on the 5-hour live stream because I was only able to jump on. I made a comment and I got interrupted. But on the video that she put out this morning, my time, yesterday, your time, she asked the question in the title, do light-skinned men want light-skinned women? I'm going to give an answer. Now, this is my 5th time trying to record this to keep it short because there's so much to unpack. But I'm going to give a brief answer. It depends on the man and it depends on the woman. I know that's a very general answer. It doesn't really break things down. And for the sake of time, I'm not going to go too deep into it. But what I am going to say is this. If light-skinned men are out here throwing light-skinned black women under the bus, I don't know about it. So I can't remark on it until I observe the phenomenon. I know that when I was coming up, we weren't doing that. We weren't the ones that had issues with light-skinned women. They had issues with us. I was the only one that I knew of that actively did not want a light-skinned woman. Not because I hated them. It was nothing like that. It was because I did not want to risk having a son with the same phenotype as me, because I'm not even recognizably black. I'm recognizably non-white, but not recognizably black. And I didn't want my son to have the same fights that I'd had to have growing up. Same arguments, and over dumb stuff too. I didn't want him to deal with the same differentiated treatment with which I'd had to deal growing up, because I hadn't done anything to start this stuff. I grew up pro-black, and then by the time I graduated high school, I was well aware that it was always my own people I had to fight. That white folks had quit trying to fight me before I left middle school. They were more likely to say, you know what, I'm sorry, man, I apologize. It was niggas that had attitude. I mean, white folks is niggas to me too, but it was us niggas that had the attitude. So, you know, I'm just burnt out to a certain extent trying to cape for black folk, but I'm not letting them I ain't letting white folk off the hook. I'm not letting this society off the hook. Individually, I take them as they come, but as a society, they are ucked fuck. And I stand with New Jersey self-defense on that point. Every time we build, they burn. We have built. 250 times in the South alone, white folks have gotten together to burn up whatever black folks built for themselves because they were doing too well. Because we were doing too well. Don't get it twisted. So, now that we got that being said, we got that understood, let me go to the meat of this. Light-skinned black men are not the ones who are going to determine the complexion of their own kids. I've come to understand that. Light-skinned black men have very little say-so in that inside of the West, especially inside of the black community. If I would decide I want to have a light-skinned black child, and actually by accident I did. I mean, my daughters are lighter skinned, but their mother's right in the middle. And my daughters inherited my shade, and none of their mother's melanin count at all. My son, fortunately, came out in the middle. And he still had to fight with some other black folks behind some other dumb stuff that was beyond his control. Now, I can't sit up and say I'm going to have a light-skinned child and do it. I would have to go into Southeast Asia for that to be the case. That's what it would take. Ironically, I'd be willing to go if my wife said to me, black heart, you're done. But we get along fine. And not only that, but other thing too is that in addition to us getting along quite well, there's something else at play too, and that is that I'm too old to have any more babies. So if I had to go to Southeast Asia, it'd be more of a retirement thing or just a resettlement. Probably not even expecting to find somebody. But that's what I would have to do if I were going to decide I want to have a light-skinned child. Like I said, when I was younger, my decision was that I was not going to risk that if it was going to be a boy. If it was a girl, it didn't matter the shade. That's what I thought at the time. Now later, I've come to realize that things have changed to a certain extent. But when I was coming up, it really wouldn't have mattered. But for a boy, no, no. Can't be light skinned and have straight hair where I grew up. And even now, to this day, he'd have to be careful. So I want you to keep this in mind, though, too, light skin motivation. You made a major up, a major slip up. And your lady commentators that support you joined you in this. Some light-skinned men said light-skinned women generally prefer darker men. Some of them prefer white men. There is no preference on a social level. On an individual level, that's different. But on a social level, there is no preference for a light-skinned black man. There are a few of them that have that might be considered to be some kind of symbols of lust or desire. There are some individuals, but no, as a whole, no, absolutely not. Even on that movie, The Perfect Man, with Sanaa Lathan, Morris Chestnut was the good guy and Michael Ealy was the bad guy. And that was politically correct. Hell, I'm not even knocking it. I don't want Morris Chestnut to be depicted as the bad guy, menacing and stalking and all that stuff. But what character did Michael Ealy depict? Kind of smooth in the beginning, but under the surface, he had rejection issues. Under the surface, something was boiling. He wasn't a whole person, so to speak. And that's exactly the subconscious programming that's been going on since I was a teenager. And this is in the 90s I'm talking about. Oh yeah. Yeah, it ain't no joke. See, when you're a light-skinned black man, there are all kind of diagnoses that the black community wants to make of you, especially the sisters. Dark, light, and anywhere in between. There's always some kind of diagnosis that has to come with it. When you're a black man, period, they sit up here trying to diagnose you and pick you apart. It's exacerbated when you light-skinned. Now, if you light-skinned with straight hair and you look mixed or other, then it's even worse. Everything you're doing is being picked apart and you're being overanalyzed. You see, in real life, Morris Chestnut, if he was not famous, would be overanalyzed. Well, guess what? In real life, a Michael Ealy looking character or a Vin Diesel looking character is going to get overanalyzed. I lived that. Not only by any particular shade of women, but by black women, period. So for the walk we look like jumping out in defense of somebody that may not want our defense. I might be willing to do it based on a general principle alone. I might be. I don't ever want you to be blamed for something you did not do. And I would gladly speak in your defense if I heard about it. Hell, my worst childhood enemy, still my enemy, was accused of being gay while he was married to a lady. This is before same-sex marriages were legal. Rumors spread that he was into other dudes. I was the one in my hometown that said, that dude doesn't show any evidence of being gay. No, he's got problems, but that's not one of them. And they looked at me and they were like, wait a minute, didn't you and him fight? When were y'all friends? And I was like, he doesn't have to be a friend. That's not his problem. Now, is this nigga a coward? He was when I knew him. Bitch made? Yes, absolutely, when I knew him. Then I heard that he became born again. That doesn't excuse it with me. I'm a Muslim. That doesn't mean you've turned over a new leaf. Now that means you worship a man who takes your sins on for himself, gives you no incentive to be even better. Nope, sorry. But as far as him warning another guy, he's never shown evidence of that, to be honest with you. So if somebody did not catch him in the act or catch him in pursuit of that act, they need to fuck the shuck up about that and stick to what we know about this nigga. I would do that for him, and I can't stand him. That nigga did some stuff. There were some years I didn't like God very much for creating niggas like this and never striking them down with lightning. That's how bad this nigga was. I'd be willing to speak in his defense if I knew he was being falsely accused. So I would be willing to do the same for you, and there are other men like that. But, what do most of us look like jumping out there, caping for those who may not want our defense? You said that about light-skinned black people, caping for dark-skinned black people. Well, guess what? The division, if there is one, between light-skinned black men and light-skinned black women is not because of light-skinned black men. Now you're venturing into red pill territory, light-skinned motivation, and I'm gonna tell you what the truth is. The truth is, when it comes to these gender relations, it's not the men that messed them up. Damn sure not in the West. You want to know the truth? Okay, I'm red pill. And I can tell you why I'm red pill. It's because I saw the truth of it before I knew of such a thing called the red pill in this context outside of the Matrix movies. Western women are ucked up. If you're not this way, don't take offense. But the majority of Western women are ucked up. They are. It's screwed up. It's not light-skinned men that have low self-esteem issues, and that's why they tell you that light-skinned women tend to prefer darker-skinned men. It's because light-skinned women will tell you that they tend to prefer darker-skinned men. And some of them who don't prefer white men. Light-skinned women preferring light-skinned men is not something to which most of them in the West would ever confess. And we're talking about in our real lives, not just on social media. You have women on your channel that are okay with light-skinned men, may even prefer them. They're there, but see, this is social media. That's not real life. In real life, if I were to leave here, fly back over there to the States, God forbid, and walk around trying to find somebody, light-skinned women are the ones I know they would be my friend, but that would be the gist of it. That's where it ends. I'm not the one saying to them, get lost because you're light-skinned. When I was younger, I would have simply said, I ain't trying to have no babies. If they wanted to be together with no babies, I'd have been like, okay, yeah, I'm your type, cool. But again, that was mostly for the safety of the kid, not because I hated them. But you made a diagnosis of some light-skinned black men talking about this is a defeatist attitude. It's not a defeatist attitude. In real life, what they're saying is true. They simply reported an objective observation, and you went and diagnosed them as having low self-esteem problems. How dare you? Western women are the ones with the low self-esteem issues. And we still giving y'all the penis. We need to stop that mess. This is why I do advocate save yourself, black man, regardless of shade. Fit the guck out the West, black men. I'm not saying this because I hate light-skin motivation. Besides, she's found a husband and she's got a child. She's straight. But understand that mindset, brothers. This is exactly why you need to get them passports and bounce. Because you're going to be diagnosed remotely through a keyboard for things you have said when you're not even complaining about anything. You can respect women's boundaries and they're upset with you and come up with a diagnosis of your mental health because you're not trying to continue on past those boundaries and being persistent to feed their ego even though they don't want you to begin with. That's what you're dealing with, man. I applaud light-skin motivation for attacking and challenging the misconceptions that black folks tend to face. And yes, light-skin privilege is over-exaggerated. It's exaggerated in the West, well, in the United States. It might exist internationally. It's actually more of a thing in Pakistan and India than it is in black America, where there's no privilege in black America. It's not there. Until, of course, you start fitting negative stereotypes, the most innocent of which is the rapper, and the rapper still has to rap about negative stereotypes in order to not be called lame and corny and get some of these privileges. Other than that, drug dealers, thugs, boxers, super fighters, major fornicators, pimps, all these negative stereotypes are the ones that get the privilege in our community. That's it. Now that we know this, let's call it what the hell it is. Light skins don't get no privilege. Dark skins don't get no privilege. Nobody does. Big nose don't get no privilege, and small nose don't get no privilege. It doesn't matter. We are hard on each other, period, about anything. So, I'm glad she challenged that notion, because I know for a fact ain't no privilege. And I thank her from the bottom of my black heart and the depth of my black mind. No sarcasm, I mean that. But she set up and proved to you why it is. That even though we can deal with, it's good that we confront colorism and other isms in the black community like classism. It's good that we confront them. That doesn't mean that you're going to find your mate or your spouse in the process of doing that. You're not. No, you're still going to have to get a passport and go outside the West to find them. That much is true. Because you got to go somewhere where they're not so busy making these psychoanalyses of you remotely than through keyboards. That's what has to happen. and I'm just going to call it what it is. The Western black woman thinks that she knows, hell, the Western woman in general thinks she knows everything about you from the first 3 minutes because she has some deep third eye spiritual insight, which is why she keeps on screwing the guys with tattoos and motorcycles and no assets to their name. That's why. That's what you're still dealing with, man. Light skin motivation, you stepped in it. You stepped in it. If it's wrong for us to go out caping for the rest of the black community that don't want our defense, it's wrong for light-skinned black men to risk going out and jumping out in the defense of light-skinned black women that may not want our defense. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. We got to know which one it is before we jump out in any individual's defense. I can straight tell you, black woman's fear would not want my defense. I know that, so I wouldn't jump out in her defense. But you get the idea. I've talked enough. I hope that one day this is not true anymore. Till then, I hope that what I've said helps. Thanks for listening. And now you know why I close my videos with black heterosexual male power. Specifically because they don't like it. Now you understand why I say that. I'm out.